Hello everybody, welcome to this instruction video. In this video I'd like to show you how to do part 3 of Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a crochet along designed by Deidre Ice from Look at What I Made and is the Scheepjes KAL for 2018. In part 3 we're going to be extending the diamonds that we made in part 1 and 2. So this here is a diamond up to part 2, so I think these two rounds we're going to be adding, as well as this border round in the main color. So at the end of part 3 you have 6 diamonds, slightly enlarged relative to what we had last week, and you'll have an edge around all of them in your main color. So you'll have 6 of these diamonds. This is what they look like. You see they all have an edge around them. So you'll have 6 of those diamonds, and I'll be using, of course, Scheepjes yarn because it is an Scheepjes KAL Ubuntu. I'm using the Stone Washed XL kit and River Washed XL yarn, that both yarns are in the kit. So this is the large kit that I'm using, but it's also available in 2 other kits, a medium and a small kit. I'm using a 5mm hook with the yarn. You're using the same yarn as hook as you used last time. So if you have a different kit, just use the same hook as you used last time. Take you step by step through the rounds that make up this part. I want to thank you for watching. I hope it's a useful video for you. Round 14. Start by going with a slip stitch into the chain space and into the chain 1 itself. Ready to start with the chain 5. 2, 3, 4, 5, which counts as a double treble and a chain 1. Another double treble, just twice over in the chain space. And then, if I can grab my yarn, this completes the new point. This is the new corner. Chain 1 and another treble in the chain 1 space. It's half the full corner made. Now we're ready for the straight edge. I'm just going to rotate my work a bit. Going to, in the first stitch, work a treble. So that first stitch there, work a treble. In the chain 1 space, work 2 trebles. So 1 and 2. On the next 44 stitches we're going to work a treble on each. That's going to bring us to the next point, the next corner. And that first stitch we're going to work in that first stitch. We've skipped it often, but now we're going to work into that very first stitch there. That's the first treble. We're going to do 44, and you'll notice that number 20 falls in the first of the 2 popcorns you have here. So you've got 2 popcorns, and stitch number 20 will fall in there, in the popcorn. So if you need a checkpoint, that can just see if you're still okay with your stitch count then and your alignment, then that number 20 is just a checkpoint for you. I'm going to work 44 trebles, 1 on every stitch. And I have 2 more, and then this is number 44 trebles. We're at the chain corner space, chain 1 corner space. Just going to remove the stitch marker. And then in that space work a treble, chain 1, that's of course the new corner, and treble. Hook up the stitch marker. On the next edge we're going to work again 44 stitches, 44 trebles, but this time we're going to skip the first stitch. That's that one. We're going to skip that. That's that half treble. That's also a very hard stitch to get into. And we're going to go to the second stitch. Skipping that one, go to the second. That's the first treble of again 44. So now your two edges are going to be the same stitch wise. That is 3, this is 4. We're going to work 44 trebles, and if you need a checkpoint just to see if your stitches are still lining up correctly, if you go, by the time you're to the popcorns here, in this first popcorn and that one there, that's going to be stitch number 22. It's going to be the 22nd treble will fall in there. But I've got about 5 or 6 now. I'm going to work 44, and that will bring me, and you as well, to the chain corner. No, actually not the chain corner space, that chain space we have there just before the corner. I'm going to work 44 trebles. Oh dear, there we just lost it. Go again. And the last treble. That was number 44. You're now at the chain 1 space, and there work 2 trebles. 1 and 2. The last stitch before the corner, work 1 treble in that stitch. Onto the chain corner space. Corner we've worked before, that's a treble, chain 1, a double treble, chain 1, a double treble. I'm going to move that marker to that corner between the double trebles, chain 1 and a treble. This corner is of course the starting point for the next edge, which we're going to do exactly the same as before. So treble in the first, 2 trebles in the chain space, then 44 trebles, go all the way around, complete your second edge, and I'll just see you here just for that last bit, just to help you in case you need it. Almost round. I have 2 more stitches left, just going to work those last 2 trebles. So those are 44 trebles, and now I'm at the chain 1 space here. Work 2 trebles in there, and 2, and then on this chain 4, that's my last stitch, work a treble, and that is sometimes a bit of a trouble. In the chain 1 space here, I'm going to work the final part of the corner, so that's a treble, chain 1, and then close on the 4th of these 5 chains with a slip stitch. And there we go. Round 15, last round with this color. Go with a slip stitch to the chain space, and with a slip stitch in the chain 1. Just going to take off the stitch marker. Chain 5, 4, 5, twice over, and then another double treble, just like we've done many times before. Chain 1 and a treble in the same corner space. For the straight edge, this round is actually very similar to the previous round. I'm going to start with a treble in the first stitch. Chain 1 space, work 2 trebles in there. 2 trebles. That's 1 and 2. On the straight edge, going to work 49 trebles. That's 1, and this is then 2, and every stitch, and that will bring you to the chain 1 corner space, the one in the middle of the diamond, 49 trebles, and one more, then that completes all these trebles. At the chain 1 space, work a treble, chain 1 and a treble. Hook up the stitch marker to the new position, and then here on the next edge we're in essence going to do the same as what we just did, but in mirror image. So we're going to start with 49 trebles. The first one is on this first stitch here, so be sure to also get into that first stitch. That's 1, 2, and if you can have 49, you're going to be at your next chain space where we're going to be working 2 trebles. And then as we move up to the corner, we're almost finished with this, with the first half of this diamond. And the last one. On the chain 2 space again, work 2 trebles in there. 1 stitch left. On that stitch we work a treble. Next up is our big corner. That is a treble, chain 1, a double treble, chain 1 and a double treble. I'm going to move the stitch marker to my new position. That is of course a new corner, chain 1 and a treble. This corner is the same as the corner we started with, so we're going to do exactly what we just did on the first 2 edges on the next 2 edges as well. So it's a treble, then 2 in the chain space, 49 trebles go all the way around, and I'll just see you here for the last bit. Almost round. Have a few more trebles to do. And then this is the last treble on the stitch before the chain space. That's 49 on this edge. In the chain space work 2 trebles. And 2. The last stitch, that's the chain 4 here. Work a treble on that. And to complete the round, a treble in the chain space, chain 1, and then close on the 4th chain with a slip stitch. You can now cut your yarn, something that we haven't been able to do yet. So cut your yarn and pull through. Work away this yarn tail before continuing with the next round. Round 16, I have my main color yarn. This is the color that you need right now. You need your main color, and you're going to do this on all of your diamonds. Make a loop and attach this to your hook. I'm going to start by making a standing double treble in the pointy corner. Now, this is the corner where you've got the chain spaces on either side. Now it doesn't matter if you start in this corner or the one on the other side, that doesn't matter, but make sure you've got the right corner. I'm going to start with a standing double treble. Now to do a standing double treble, it's exactly the same as a normal double treble, only you don't have your yarn attached yet. But a double treble means you yarn over twice. So I'm going to yarn over twice. and then keep your finger on that hook, on your hook and on the yarn, because you really need your yarn to stay where it is. Then go to the space where you want to attach your yarn. Insert your hook and pick up a loop. Now you have all the loops on your hook, and you're going to take off 2 loops at a time, exactly the way you normally would for a double treble. But in the process, be sure to keep your finger on these loops here, that they don't unravel. I'm going to yarn over, take off 2 loops, and again yarn over, take off 2 loops, and again yarn over and take off 2 loops. And that was a standing double treble. For the rest of the corner, chain 1 and another double treble in the same space. 2 and 3. Just going to move the stitch marker to the new position. There you go. So that's my new corner there, that chain 1. So of course there's also the rest of the corner. Just make me move everything a bit. It's chain 1 and a treble in this same space. I'm going to start by, in the first stitch, work a treble. You're now at the chain 1 space. Important here, 1 treble in the chain 1 space. We've done 2 many times, but now it's only 1, so very important here, take note. 1 treble in the chain 1 space. We now have 54 stitches until we get to the next chain space for the corner. I'm going to work a back post treble on all of these. Now, to work a back post treble, yarn over for the treble, then around the post of the stitch from the back to the front, come out the other side, grab your yarn and bring your yarn back up. And that first one, that really is sometimes just somehow a little bit tricky. And then take off and complete the treble. That was the first one. I'll show you again. You're going to do 54 of these. Yarn over, grab your yarn and complete the treble. Now this is a time-consuming stitch, but you get a beautiful edge here, and that's exactly what we're going for, that edge there. That's why we're doing this. So you're going to work 54 back post trebles. That will bring you to the chain 1 space. So I'm just going to continue and work these stitches, and then I'll see you at the chain 1 space when you have 54 of these stitches. Almost to the next corner, that's that chain 1 space here. 1 stitch left, going to work a back post treble there on that last stitch. And complete the treble. In the corner itself, work a treble, chain 1, and a treble. I'm going to just move the stitch marker to that chain 1 position. There you go. So that's my new corner. It won't surprise you, on this edge we're also going to work 54 back post trebles. So around that first stitch, yarn over, around the post, from the back, grab the yarn, bring forward, and complete. That was 1, this is the number 2. You're going to work 54. That will bring you to your next chain space, and then we'll slowly work towards the corner. 3, so this is then number 4. So continue, take your time on these stitches, and then I'll see you at the chain 1 space. almost to the corner here. See, there's the chain 1 corner space. Got 1 stitch left, so I'm going to do a back post treble around that last stitch there. The chain 1 space, work 1 treble in there, so only 1 treble in that chain 1 space. Next stitch, that's the last stitch before the corner. For me it's a chain 4. If you started on this side it'll be a normal stitch, so depending on which side you started, whether that's a regular stitch or a chain stitch. I'm going to work a treble in there, but I've also got my slip stitch join in there, and oh dear, it's a little full. Just going to push my hook through there. There we go. The treble in that stitch. Now we're in the corner. I'm going to work a treble, chain 1, double, treble, chain 1, and another double, move the stitch marker to that new corner. And rotate my work just a little bit. Another chain 1 and a treble. Then this completes the new corner, the new point. On your next edge you're going to do exactly the same as what we've just done. So in the first stitch you work a treble, it's a bit hidden there, that first stitch. Chain 1 you work a treble, and then work a back post on all of those stitches. Go right back to the beginning, and then I'll just see you here just to show you also how to do these last stitches and how to join on that standing stitch. Almost round, just on the last back post treble at the chain 1 space. In the chain 1 space you work 1 treble. I have 1 stitch left, work a treble on there. And now to the corner, you need 1 more treble in the chain 1 space, chain 1. I'm going to close here on this standing stitch. If you look at the standing stitch, you see you've got the post, and then here at the top you've got the top of the stitch just next to the knot. That knot is from the slip knot, and then in there, in that space, the top of the stitch, that's where you insert your hook, and then pull through. So closing with a slip stitch. And then you've got your yarn here to the back. You'll notice that your work becomes neater if you just unpick that knot before you work away this yarn tail, but you don't have to. You can also just leave the knot and everything will be fine as well. But this yarn tail you can now work away. I'll only do this after the next round, because then I've just got a bit more stitches here to work this away. But this completes this round, and now we're ready for the next one. Round 17. I'm going to move with the slip stitch to the chain 1 space and then into the chain 1 itself. There we go. Start with a chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's again a double treble and a chain 1. Twice over for the double treble. And that is my new corner. I'm just going to move the stitch marker to the new position. There you go. Just turn my work a bit. One thing that's important now, you're going to work a treble. So no chain 1, immediately work a treble in the chain space still. You've got a double treble and a treble. In the first stitch, there's that one there, I'm going to work a half treble. Again, take notes, half treble. that first stitch. The chain 1 space, work a half treble, only one. The next stitch, I'm going to work the first of 58 half trebles. In that first one there, and then this is 2, 3, so work a half treble in every stitch, so that's going to be 58, and that will bring you to your next chain 1 corner space. I'm just going to work these 58 half trebles. And the last one, number 58. All the half trebles done. Next up is the chain space, and they're going to work a new corner. In the chain 1 space, work a half treble, chain 1, and a half treble. Move the stitch marker to my new corner. And you can if you just open it up, you see exactly where that chain 1 space is. So that's my new corner. On this edge, I'm going to work a half treble on every stitch again. So that's again going to be 58 stitches. That will bring you to the next chain 1 space. Here on that first stitch, be sure to also get that one. That's my first one. That's a half treble. That's 1. This is 2. When you've got 58, you'll be at the chain 1 space, not the corner yet, the space before it. So I'm just going to work 58 half trebles. And then this is the last half treble. Again, 58 half trebles. We're at the chain 1 space, not the corner yet, the space before. Work 1 half treble in there. The last stitch before the corner also gets a half treble. Next up is the chain 1 corner space. There work a treble, followed by a double treble, chain 1, a double treble, move the chain 1 corner space to the new position, and then another treble in that same space. And that is then the new corner completed. On the next edge of the diamond, you're going to do the same as what we started with. So you're going to work a half treble on the first stitch in the chain, a half treble on every stitch. Complete that edge. And I'll just see you here for the last bit and for the closing of this round. Almost back to the beginning of the round. I have 1 half treble left. At the chain 1 space, work a half treble. And I'm here at the last stitch. Now this was that standing double treble we made in the previous round, and there's also a slip stitch in there, so this is actually a very full stitch. So, you know, just push your hook in there somewhere and it'll be fine. And close, or complete the half treble, I should say. In the chain space, going to work a treble, and now immediately close with a slip stitch on the 4th chain. So that's there. Go. Can now cut your yarn. So cut your yarn and open up. So pull this thread through. Work away this yarn tail. At this point, this is what your diamond looks like. Just work away your last yarn tails, those from these last 2 rounds, and then your diamond looks more or less like this. I can't even get it in front of the camera, that's how big the XL diamond is. You've finished it on 1 diamond, But you've also got to do exactly the same thing we've just done all the other diamonds also. Here I've got a few of them. So what you need to do on all of them is work those last 2 rounds in the color of the diamond, and then use your main color to put that edge around all of your diamonds. So you'll have 6 of these in different colors, all with the main colored edge around them. So when you've done all of that, and all your diamonds look more or less like this, that's when you've finished part 3. Thank you for watching, and hope to see you again next week.